Ramon Luna grew up in the border town of Juarez, Mexico. Drug wars and family rivalries claimed the lives of many of Ramon's family members, including his brother.
I was always around that violence, and I was used to a lot of family members dying and a lot of gang violence also.
When he was 12, his father moved the family to Washington State to escape the violence. But the hatred towards his brother's killer stayed with Ramon.
This hate was so immense that I was actually planning how to get rid of this guy. I hated him so much that I always agreed with my brothers how to get rid of him one day.
That hatred fueled Ramon's rage. He became known on the streets as a vicious fighter.
That's why they jumped me into this gang. I used to get into a lot of fights. I used to go out and steal stereos. I did it just for the rush because I loved that adrenaline that you get. You're like, wow, we're gonna get caught.
By the time he was 20, he had committed crimes worthy of long prison times. But it was a crime he didn't commit that landed him in jail. One night, he stopped by a party to pick up his nephew. The next day, as he waited in the hospital for tests, he noticed a girl glaring at him.
She went running to one of the nurses. And before I knew it, these two officers show up. They didn't ask me any questions. They just said, hey, you're under arrest. You're under arrest for rape. You're under arrest for first-degree burglary and kidnapping.
The girl recognized Ramon from the party and included him in her allegations of rape. Ramon faced the possibility of 30 years in prison. For weeks, he waited in jail for his trial. As he became more desperate, he turned to God.
Like my eyes just started getting watery because I prayed, how come I'm going through this? You know, just help me. And, you know, if you're really real, just be here.
A street preacher came to visit him. Ramon had made fun of this evangelist and his Christian faith for years.
And when I saw Chris, I just started pouring tears there. And I told him I was sorry.
Ramon met with Chris and Bob, the jail chaplain, for prayer and Bible study.
We just read what Jesus says in Luke 6 about, you know, be like your Father in heaven if you want to be children of the Most High. He's merciful to the wicked, so you too. Forgive your enemies and pray for them.
They invited me to forgive this girl that was accusing me. I hated this girl. I didn't know her, but I really hated her. And so I closed my eyes and I looked down. I knew God was right there, but I was trying to hear him. And he said to me, I want you to forgive the guy that killed your brother.
Ramon let go of his hate and forgave his accuser and his brother's killer.
I knew God was real when I forgave the guy that killed my brother because the total hate went away completely. And Chris and Bob just looked at me like, this guy's really hearing from God, you know? That's more hardcore than forgiving this girl, you know? So I forgave them both. I asked God to forgive my sins and that I give him my life. I finally found out that I am a child of God.
The next day, Ramon had a surprise visit from his lawyer.
He says, I have good news. This girl showed up this morning and she turned a letter in saying that everything was a lie. And I had no doubt in my mind that God was there with me. I wasn't afraid anymore. The fear was gone and God's presence was so strong.
There's power to transform our enemies when we pray for them. It's not just being weak, it's not being a pushover and letting terrorists run the show. That when we pray for our enemies, that there's a power unleashed there.
It's just the power of when you actually decide to forgive someone. Your whole way of thinking just totally changes.
It wasn't long before the judge threw out the case against him, and Ramon was set free.
And Ramon was just like, God did this, everybody. God did this.
Ramon is telling others, especially the gang members he ran with, how God changed his life and that he can change their lives too.
And he'll bring them in here and pray with them. And he'll sing worship songs that just melt my heart and theirs. And gangsters just come right to God's presence. And that's what transforms them.
I don't care who you are, where you come from, or how you lived your life, but your life is so important. And God knows every second of your life. If my son comes and asks me to forgive him, I know I will forgive him, no matter what he's done, because I know him since he was a child. And God knows us that way. When he sees us He doesn't see us as we see ourselves or people see ourselves, but the way God created us to be.